Welcome to Behind the Story, where we discover the story behind your favourite stories. My name's Lisa Renee. I'm from the Collab Press, and I'm also a contemporary rom-com author.
I'm Naomi Craig. I write historical fiction set in Bible times. So we had a great interview pre-recorded with debut historical novelist Jennifer Mistmorgan. Kind of a mix of both of our fields here. She's Australian. She writes historical. So you just kind of like put them together and put us together. So before we get there, what's going on in your life right now, Lisa?
Hey, okay, so I have a pen name. I'm working on a Kickstarter with that. So that's going to take up a bit of focus, and we're writing a book together, co-authoring a book with this pen name. Other than that, the Collab Press, I'm doing some stuff with authors, coaching, some Zoom sessions and all that kind of stuff. So I help people that are getting into self-publishing, depending what they need, whether it's coaching or they actually need some help with their marketing or setting up their platform. But we also do editing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's
Yeah. So before, and not to interrupt, but if you're watching this and you're also an author or you're trying to get started, Lisa does do a lot of help with that. So you want to follow her along and with the Collab Press, and so it's not just for readers' enjoyment, but we do talk a lot about author stuff too here. So if you want to be in the know of all of our latest tips and fun things that we're learning in our author journey, we'd love for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you are alerted each time we come up with something new. And usually we have prizes. Usually our guests offer a book of what we talk about. So we'll make it worth your while.
definitely, and you have a high chance of winning. So make sure you enter.
That's right. That's right.
You'd be surprised. Yeah, I actually won something for one.
That's right.
So Naomi, I'm very excited. We have a little chat beforehand and online that we both have Kickstarters going, and I saw your pre-launch page, so I'm really thrilled. Tell us about your Kickstarter.
Yeah, so it's for my New Testament, and this is co-authored with Donna Elaine, our good friend, and we thought, why not? So we're giving it a go and seeing how we can do. Right now, it is on pre-launch, and then it's we'll be launching soon. So we'll just see if we can't meet our goals, but it's just a way to offset the costs, of indie publishing, so we are able to get quicker to the next book and get you in the book for the get you reading the next book. So I think you described it once before, Lisa, like it's pre-ordering with cool stuff. I don't remember, maybe it wasn't you, somebody said it's like you're pre-ordering but you also get cool stuff like exclusive editions, like a hardback that we're not going to offer anywhere else. Or I think it's really cool. So Donna designed our cover, but it's 4 novellas interwoven to make one seamless story. But each novella is from a different perspective. So at the beginning of each new act, if you will, is a picture. You'll have like another cover. So of Stephen, of Ananias, of Barnabas or Tabitha. So you can actually choose your cover for any of the editions if you want ebook or hardback or early cover, early paperback. You can add on having a fun exclusive cover that won't be seen anywhere else.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So this is
Yeah,
for the title of it's called Their Numbers Grew. Is that right?
and their numbers grew. Yep.
And
And
and their numbers grew. Yeah, cool.
it's based off of in Acts where the church is growing so quickly, and it says, and their numbers grew daily, and they added 3,000 to their numbers, and like it's just exploding. The good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ is exploding in the area. So kind of giving nod to that. So yeah, so I don't know, we might flop completely, but we're kind of excited to see how it goes and try something new on that. So
Yeah, well, you've both done, I mean, you've done incredibly well with your, is it Yahweh series? What do you call it? Yahweh's Legacy? Yeah,
Always
you've done
fun to see.
incredibly well with that. You know, over 100 reviews at least for all of them. And
Yeah.
Donna has won so many awards because she submits to all these competitions.
Yes.
She's a powerful writer. She's just amazing. You're both really well matched in that. So it is.
And I think that's where it's going to be. It is going to be successful because I have the biblical fiction platform. Donna has written historical, but she also has written whatever she feels like writing, which is amazing. I so admire that. So I've got the biblical fiction platform. She's got this excellence and like the knowledge of how indie publishing works and all that. So it is a good thing. So it's with editors now, and
Wow.
I'm excited. I think it'll be really excellent. So
yeah, cool. And just for our viewers, I just want to say it's just very easy to follow a campaign. So we'll have a link, and all you do is click notify me on launch, and then you just basically putting an email in for Kickstarter, just so they can email you when it launches, and then you can check out they have different rewards and tiers, and you might just want to just get the ebook, and it's really easy. You know, obviously you just buy it with a credit card, and then that's later, like if you decide to, and then it gets delivered to you, and you can download it onto your Kindle or whatever device you have, or read it online. So it's pretty simple. And then
there's nothing charged if the project does not get fully funded. It's not charged at all. So there's no risk here. It's just throwing it out there, you know, and just to be a part of helping create, which we so appreciate, and we're grateful. You know, we wouldn't, of course, be writing if we didn't have readers and supporters. So we are very grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, thank you for following Behind the Story all up until now, for our regular followers and listeners. And yeah, so we'll have those links, and definitely I want to see Naomi's Kickstarter funded, and I'm really excited, and I feel like I'm just involved because I'm the one who's like, do a Kickstarter. So then I'm going to be promoting it. I'm going to like put it in my newsletters, put it everywhere on social media. So if yeah, please share it around. That'll be great. All right, so let's bring on our guest today.
Yeah, our guest today is Jennifer Mistmorgan. By day, she is an Australian copywriter and food writer, but by night, she writes courageous romance set against the backdrop of the Second World War. Welcome to Behind the Story, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me.
So for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you write.
Well, I am I have two parts to my writing life, I suppose. So by day, I am a content and copywriter, so a writer for hire, basically. And I have a special interest in food and sustainability. So I write lots of articles and blogs and recipes and whatnot around food. And that's my day job. And by night, I write romantic historical fiction set during World War II. And my debut novel is called Heart in the Clouds. And it's out today as we're speaking, which is very exciting.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a thrill.
So Heart in the Clouds, he is a charismatic Australian bomber pilot used to beating the odds, and she's a straight-laced radio operator he speaks to each night before he flies. He makes a bet that he can steal a kiss and ends up getting so much more than he bargained for. What is the story behind Heart in the Clouds?
I suppose the story behind Heart in the Clouds can be summarized by a quote from Winston Churchill, who was the British Prime Minister at the time of the war. And he said that as early as 1940, he said, "This isn't a war of kings and princes. This is a war of unknown warriors." And what he meant to say is that a lot of ordinary people will do extraordinary things during this war. And I find that a very exciting place for a writer's imagination to go. It's like a playground of all this possibility of ordinary people doing really extraordinary things. And so that's how I started at this story. The story behind the story is me trying to seek out those little strands, these little stories that I could pull out, and finding this remarkable setting of RAF Bomber Command, and wondering what would it be like to be living and working on an RAF Bomber Command station, and what would it be like to fall in love under those circumstances, and what would you start to think about God and the meaning of what your purpose, if those were the circumstances under which you were working.
Wow, sounds interesting. So do you often like read historical fiction in this particular genre?
Yeah, I love World War II fiction, Christian fiction, general market fiction. Non-fiction about the war is particularly exciting because anything that you read about, you can sort of think it's like a springboard into, oh, wow, well, that would be a good setting for a romance, or that would be an interesting place to spin a story. Because it's got, World War II's just got all the elements that you need to tell a great story. Global locations, and you've got good versus evil, and you've got super high stakes if it's a romance because they might not never see each other again. One of them might die. People doing new stuff that they've never, stepping out of their comfort zones, and,
right.
Lots of men in uniform and stuff like that.
Great. So introduce us to your main character, Maggie. What are her strengths and her quirks, if she has any?
I do so love my main characters, and I'm very happy that other people get to meet them. Maggie is working currently as a Women's Auxiliary Air Force officer. So she is a vicar's daughter, so the minister's daughter, basically, but I don't think she's really excited by that life. She actually loves the romance of the cinema, and she's a little bit vain, so she loves dressing up. She loves looking glamorous, and she wanted to do her bit for the war. And she chose the Women's Auxiliary Air Force because their uniforms were blue, and blue suited her better. And that being said, she's actually very practical, and as a result, actually quite brave. And so when we meet her, she's just got a promotion. She is working as a radio operator in the control room. So she's the voice that speaks to the pilots, which is quite a responsible job that she has. She has to keep cool and calm under pressure. But what she's hiding is she's had a pretty bad breakup. Someone treated her fairly appallingly, and she's hiding that underneath this very calm and level-headed exterior. And as a result, she won't have anything to do with pilots who think they're all that.
And that certainly plays true. Maggie fights really hard to not end up with the main guy. So you've got some glowing reviews from the World War II fiction elite, including Sarah Sundin, Amanda Barrett, and Rosanna M. White, who says, Jennifer Mistmorgan soars into the World War fiction scene with a debut that will steal your heart. Characters that are flawed but compelling, a plot that keeps you turning the pages, and writing that will have you coming back for more makes Heart in the Clouds a must-read for historical romance fans. So how did you get these ladies to be part of your debut? That's amazing. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, they are wonderful, wonderful authors. And I have a different story with each of them, I suppose. But the common thread that runs through those stories is that I'm a super fan of theirs. And I, for the last couple of years, have connected with them online and reviewed their books and supported them. And so I suppose when it came time to say, hey, I've written a book, they knew who I were. They knew who I was, and they knew who I was, knew who I am. Anyway, they
your
were-
editor brain is just just clicks in. It all makes you question everything you say. It's so funny when you're an author.
grammar.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. So when it came time to say I've written a book, they knew who I was, and they knew that they knew what I liked, and
They knew you're going to do World War II justice here.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. And so I'm so incredibly honored by the reviews and the endorsements. It's very nerve-wracking to go to your heroes and
Yes.
say, please, will you read this thing? Because they did read it.
What if they hate it? Yeah.
What they came back and said, well, I read it, but I really don't think that I can endorse it. Like, that would be heartbreaking.
Or they never respond at all, and you're just like, what? Tell me something.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the story there. Really, I'm so honored.
So on your website, I think I saw something that the Heart in the Clouds was inspired by. Was it your own family in the war? Your grandfather, was it?
Yeah,
So
that's where this interest, I suppose, starts. So my grandfather flew with RAF Bomber Command in the Second World War. He flew Lancasters, which are the same aircraft that my hero flies. To help you understand the context of that, RAF Bomber Command was the wing of the division of the Air Force that flew the bombing raids over Europe. So you had the fighter pilots who fought in the Battle of Britain. You had another division called Coastal Command. But these bomber pilots flew what at first were not fit for purpose aircraft. Low and slow over occupied Germany, and under fire on very cold nighttime operations. They dropped their bombs, they dashed home, and then tried not to think about the fact that that's what they did every night for work. Of the 125,000 men that flew with Bomber Command, almost half of them died. And the ones that survived watched their friends fall out of the sky, and then lived afterwards with the remorse and the guilt and the grief that they felt for what they'd done. Because they weren't professional soldiers, they were volunteers, they were unknown warriors. And my grandfather was one of those. It was a very I think he felt a lot of guilt and remorse over his wartime work after he returned and for the rest of his life. And it was very difficult for him to reconcile the idea of God and the idea of a loving God with, and the idea that God could love him after he'd been part of that during the war.
Yeah.
But I've always thought it was an extraordinarily brave thing to do, to keep at it, doing it because it's the right thing. Like, right, we're really glad that Hitler was defeated in the Second World War.
Right.
So I knew that they were doing it for a cause, and they knew that they might die doing it. There were no guarantees they would come home. So that bravery was something I didn't want to celebrate the work necessarily, but I really wanted to illuminate it and illuminate this context of that the people were working in.
Yeah. Excellent. So if you're watching this, we would love for you to tell us some of your family's stories from World War II. Comment below. Let us know about, let's illuminate some of these unknowns, how did you phrase it? The
unknown warriors.
Unknown warriors from your family. We'd love to celebrate with you on their contribution and sacrifice and how they helped contribute with World War II. Comment below and let us know.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So we see that you're like exploring these ideas, and also as a modern Christian, like we struggle with the concept of, you know, war and things like that, and trying to reflect. And yeah, it's definitely an eye-opener, something to explore. So, and fiction is a great way to do that, to get into the character's mind and, you know, their struggles. And it's not like you have to give a conclusion or anything, but it's basically, you know, you're experiencing that with the character, and you can explore those thoughts about that. So you've said that your day job or your interests as well in, you know, did you say clean eating? Are you into?
Yeah, so sustainability, environmental sustainability, and
okay.
home cooking is
Right.
sort of my
Yes.
area. Yeah.
And so you weave that passion into your story. So you have a recipe book that coincides with Heart in the Clouds. What's your favorite recipe mentioned in the book?
So I do. I put that together as for book clubs, because I don't know if every book club does this, but I like to choose food based on the book, and I might be a little bit like freaky like that. I don't know if other people like to do that, but I figure there must be some other people other people around like me. So I put together those World War II recipes for book clubs.
Oh, nice.
And my favorite one, I think, is a World War II carrot cake, because it's a recipe that's adapted from the Ministry of Food recipe. The Ministry of Food in England during the war not only controlled the sort of supply and distribution of food to the population, but they also controlled food education. So they would teach you how to use your food wisely. That was a massive problem during World War II, that they couldn't get supplies in. And so the population was at risk of starving, and they really did have to cook, use things and cook things that could be grown in Britain, which was difficult when they were used to importing a lot of food. So carrots can be grown in England quite successfully for a large part of the year. And so they were sort of used for a lot of purposes, and recommended by the Ministry of Food for a lot of purposes, including as sweeteners in just about everything.
Really?
Yeah. So there's recipes for like carrot jam and stuff like that, and marmalade flavored with carrot instead of oranges and stuff. But what I found fascinating about this recipe is that, when we think of carrot cake today, we think of this thing that's really moist, and it's, all those spices in it, and it's got cream cheese frosting on top and maybe some walnuts. Like, it's delicious. I love it. But this carrot cake come from the time, it's actually really different. So it's like almost like a carrot and sultana scone. The texture is quite different. The method you would use is quite different, and it's still actually quite delicious. Like, it's delicious in a different way. And maybe you need a little bit of icing, which was a bit illegal in wartime to use icing, but you might need a little bit of a glaze or apricot jam or something to elevate it. But it's really interesting to look back and think that this is so different to what we might know as carrot cake now. Like, it's had several evolutions, but it's delicious and yeah, quite interesting. I do like food history, so I like incorporating those little food details into the book and cooking them where I can.
Well, I really enjoyed reading Heart in the Clouds, and it's a concept that I don't think I've read much of, is being the radio operator or even a bomber going from England into mainland. But there did seem to be quite a lot of like nitty gritty and almost sordid details that happened on the military base. So did you find that true to research? Or, I mean, that's not really talked about usually in history books, I guess. It's like the day-to-day life. Is that true to research, or how did you
Yeah. So all the details of life, certainly of Alex's military service, Alex the hero, and he is with the Australian Air Force. Those sorts of details came from research. There's perhaps something that runs through Australian culture. Lisa, you can tell me if you agree with this, that's maybe slightly different to American, generally speaking, culture, is that there's a different attitude to alcohol and a different attitude to gambling. And so Australians will, generally speaking, there's a lot more gambling that is just part of society, and probably a lot more drinking too. And so those sorts of details, I think that was true to research. People would spend a lot of time down the pub because they didn't, I mean, I don't think the men really wanted to think about what they did when they were working. So they wanted to go and do something else. There's a few, I don't want to give away any spoilers. I don't know if this is a spoiler-free podcast, but I did lean into something, put in the background something that's quite sinister for the women of the station. And I don't know that I didn't see that necessarily in my research, but I did see all the ingredients that could make that happen in my research. And so I put that in the background.
Right. So we talked before.
I hope that hasn't terrified people. It's just the background.
Something sinister in the background.
Dun, dun, dun.
Suspense.
It's just
it felt like a real slice of life. Like, I mean, I'm sure our military will rather go to the bar or the pub as well, you know, to forget, or that's where they, you know, and I'm sure that's pretty universal, but it felt like it was just a raw slice of life and like a picture of what could have happened on a base in this time period. Like it didn't feel sinister. It was very good for storytelling. So
okay, so through this process, and you talked about how your grandfather inspired you as well, and you're seeing the effects on him. Now you going through and delving into these characters and in the history, what did you find that you came out of that? What did the Lord show you and teach you through that? And how did it have an impact on you personally?
That's an interesting question. I think that through this process of writing a book and several books and whatnot, God has taught me to trust him. So that's not necessarily to do with the content of the book or the experiences of the characters, but just my life as a writer. I often worry about, can I trust this person? Have I made this decision the right way? But I think what I've been taught is God is the one that is trustworthy, and it's not about me and whether or not I make the right decisions, but am I just focusing on him and putting my faith and trust not in myself or my skills or whatever, but are my eyes on him? And I think that there's, just key points in the sort of that twisty turny kind of path that you go on from the moment you start to write a book to the moment today, yay, when the book is available and you can say, I've written this, I've done this. It's a twisty turny, sometimes rocky path. And so I think God has taught me, well, I think I'll probably have to relearn this several times over my life, but in this season he's taught me to keep my eyes fixed on him and not on the other stuff.
Yeah. So we should talk a little bit about that, because I actually know Jen personally. We caught up at a mega Christian Writers Conference in Queensland, and we were in the car together. So this is it last October? Yes.
Yeah, I reckon about this time last year.
Yeah. And so you were sort of like, I'm like all about self-publishing, and, I run the collab press, and I'm like, come on, but you were struggling with, the going the traditional route, waiting, because it's such a long, drawn out process, and it's so exhausting, and, looking at different small presses and things like that. And so you finally, this is indie publish, this one?
Yes.
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 Lisa brought you over to her side too,
I
hey?
didn't. I just had my little in her ear. No, well, Naomi and I, we have some experience of interviewing people and asking them the questions even off air, and just their experience. So we've got a little bit of a broad picture. We know a lot of traditional publishers, indie authors, and also the traditional publisher, both can work really well. But it is it's changing, and things are more online, and a lot of authors are just taking things into their own hands, as such, in like selling direct and doing all sorts of different things that they couldn't do before. So tell us a little bit about that little process that you went through.
I suppose I think when I met you at that conference, Lisa, I had a traditional contract all ready to sign and I had it printed, and I was planning the picture that I would take of me signing on the line, and how exciting this is. And I was truly intending to do that. I'm not saying that you changed my mind necessarily.
I feel very responsible now.
It's not your fault, but I did. So this is another, like, you asked me what did God teach me through this? Well, after that weekend, I thought, hang on, do you just want this because that means that you've got what everyone else wants, like this traditional publishing detail, and you'll get all that external validation of being able to say, yeah, or what actually do you want to achieve with this book? And I think I really liked the idea of publishing independently. I liked the idea of, I've got a little bit of an entrepreneurial streak, and although I'm incredibly scared of failing, which I think perhaps we all are, I really do enjoy the direct sales element. I really do enjoy directly connecting with people, and ultimately there's so much more I can do if I hold that intellectual property, and I don't have to seek permission to use my own words to do various things. But that's like that was a hard decision to come to, and many times I questioned it. Like, I distinctly remember thinking, I'm sure I could go back to this publisher. I think I could say to them, maybe I'll change my mind. Like, after I say no, I probably could do that, and just sit. Maybe I didn't pray enough the first time. Hang on, I'll just pray again. I'll just pray a bit more. And I just remember after that moment, God just saying, no, trust me. It's not about being hybrid, traditional or hybrid or independent. It's about you trusting me. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I decided to do.
Well done. So I might even put a link in the show notes, but the Collaborative Press, which I run, I have done some videos on that and how to research if you are interested in going with a small publisher, seeing how successful their titles are. There's some tools that you can find. Publisher Rocket is one of them. But yeah, I've got a video and it shows you like quick 5-minute one. So you can do that research if you are an author and you're on the journey, and also contacting, if you can, you know, the authors of that publisher, whether it's a small press in particular, and ask them what their experience is and see if they're willing to open up and share. And, you know, because some people, that's something where they start with, because just the whole cover design and the editing and finding this and that is just a bit overwhelming. I just saw someone who did do a debut with a small press recently, and yeah, I can see by the ranking it's sort of been out there and it's not doing much, but you know, they've got the start, they've got everything out ready, they haven't had to do the cover and all that kind of stuff, but now they're going to have to themselves do the rest, you know, get the reviews in themselves and do all that. So it's going to be the same, but sometimes that is a good decision for someone who finds, you know, the tech. A lot of people are writing in later in their life and they're just trying to learn the craft, or they're just trying to hone that in, and then having to learn, or I've got to organize this and I've got to get a review team and da. But unfortunately, we actually end up having to pretty much learn all these things anyway.
Right.
So, yeah. Even the traditional authors, they're having to learn it all. So we don't get out of it.
But I found it really enjoyable. There's a lot of balls in the air, like, you know, for me this week, as it all sort of comes to a head, and this day that I've been counting down to for like ever is upon me. There's like a lot of balls in the air, and some of them I've dropped, and some of them I might have done better if I'd have had more time, or it wasn't just me, or whatever. But it's still like, it's still a very rewarding process.
All right, so now I've got a very serious question for you here.
Oh,
you've
goodness,
just been
tell me.
sinister background. You've just been kidnapped. The characters from your last Christian novel that you read are coming to rescue you. What are your chances?
Okay. Now, you did tell me you were going to ask this question beforehand, and so I thought, and I'm going to go with the last Christian novel I finished.
Okay.
Because if I go with the ones that I'm reading at the moment, I am dead. There's no way I'm coming home.
Which one are you? Well, let's start with that one. Which one are you not coming home from?
Well, I'm reading Positively Penelope by Pepper Basham. And I just don't think they would be very useful in a kidnapping situation. Very entertaining, but not very useful in a kidnapping
I read
situation.
Authentically Izzy, so I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
All right. So which one are you coming back from?
Well, I have recently read The Black Midnight by Kathleen Ibabo. And that is a book that the main characters there, I'm fairly confident they would rescue me, Annie and Isaiah. And they are Pinkerton detectives in the 1800s. So I figure
I've got a good chance. What's coming up next for you, Jen?
Well, I suppose after Heart in the Clouds, what else should I do but write a sequel? And so in May next year, The Mapmaker's Secret is coming out, which is one of the other women who features in the story, Grace, Maggie's best friend, gets her own story. So one of the things I hope other people feel, I know that some people have mentioned this, and I certainly feel this way, is that my characters feel like friends, and it's hard to leave friends at the end of one book. So I've written a few more stories for these friends.
Wow,
and that'll come out next year.
Fantastic. So where can the readers follow you so they can be notified when the next book comes out too?
Yep, you can find all my stuff online at jennifermistmorgan.com. I'm on Facebook, but the main place I am is Instagram. So that's just Jennifer Mistmorgan.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Behind the Story.
Thank you for having me. It's been really lovely.
Well, remember to connect to Jen. We will have those links in the show notes. She is offering an ebook giveaway for her new release, her debut. Naomi, do you want to remind us what the midpoint question was?
Yeah, you don't want to miss this one. It's easy to enter, and Heart in the Clouds was an excellent book. I really enjoyed reading it. The question is to tell us about your unknown heroes from World War II. I want to know some of your story, your family, your grandparents, so we can illuminate their contribution as well. So comment below, let us know. And then that's as easy it is. That's how you'll get entered into the drawing. So the chances are really good for you on that.
Some freebies as well. If you like a bit of romance, maybe a bit of Australian voice with American characters, I have a Christian rom-com novella. It's free in ebook or audiobook, so the link will be in the show notes. And Naomi has something too.
Yes, I've got On Desolate Heights, Balaam's story, and that is available in my to sign up for my newsletter. And then Jen actually has some freebies as well, so you want to make sure you get to Jen's website so you can download. This is a great way you can get a feel for new authors, is to see their writing style and see if it's something you're interested in pursuing for future. So I know all three of us would love to have you on board. And yeah, we're excited. Coming up next, we will welcome biblical novelist Elaine R. Kelly to the show. We're looking forward to getting to chat with her about her book. And until next time, thanks so much for joining us on this edition of Behind the Story. And let us run with endurance the race set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. See you next time.